Welcome to the Dizzy Red Panda podcast, where we get a little overenthusiastic, chatting about our craftiness and creative endeavors, and a little bit crazy when we're just trying to talk to each other as well today.
It's going to be a great episode,
Oh, it's going to be fantastic.
I'm Cheryl outside of St. Paul, Minnesota, and I am on Ravelry as Red and Instagram as Red Knitter.
I am Katie, and I'm from Duluth, Minnesota, which is at the tip of Lake Superior. And on Ravelry and Instagram, I'm known as Nerdy in Plaid.
And you can find our show notes and links down below. And please let us know in the comments if you have any questions. We'd be happy to get back to you.
Excellent. So just as a side note, Cheryl has already experienced this as we've been chatting, but I have a little bit of a rambunctious cat today. So if there are lots of breaks, it's because I'm dealing with her or she's crashed into something. So I apologize for that. She's super cute and she won't, if you look at her, you'll be like, she's not making any trouble. Anyway, she's all over my Instagram. You can see her, but she does get into a lot of trouble. All right, so I have FOs today. Cheryl and I both have some projects that we're working on, and we have some other things to chat about today too. So I'll start with FOs because I'm just on a finishing kick, and
you really are.
I really am. It's like like nesting before the semester starts. I'm not pregnant.
I get that.
I am not pregnant. There's no pregnancy happening here. But sometimes I feel like going into the school year, it's like a full 9 months of, I don't know. Anyway. So I have 3 finished items today that I want to talk about. And I promise that the finishing will probably slow after this, just because I'm not going to have all the time to devote to this, because I have work and stuff. So the first, there's a little bit of a theme to my finished objects today. So the first one that I wanted to show is this little sweater. Let's see if I can get me out of the frame. You can see it. And this is a newborn size, so it's super tiny. This is called the Sweetheart DK sweater by Vanessa Ewing. And it's called the Sweetheart sweater because it has these super cute little lace hearts, both on the back, which I just showed you, and then on each of the fronts as well. And it's a little bit harder to see, but it's made out of DK weight yarn. I use 3 Irish Girls in the Springvale DK, which is a superwash DK yarn, obviously. It's in the Eau Cherie colorway, and it's hard to tell, but let's see if I can get close. This is a variegated light pink. It goes between cream and a really, really light pink. And then it has flecks of brown and rust and some orange and some blue in it. And as I describe it, it sounds really ugly, but it's, and I'm not normally a pink person, but I happen to really like this. So it's a sweet little pattern. The lace was lovely. The only really changes that I made where they're supposed to be where the hearts are in the front. They're supposed to be on pockets, and I didn't want to do pockets. So I took that out. And then I also did short sleeves on this because I was also running short on yarn. I just made that change. I also was struggling on buttons. I really pride myself in having buttons that match the yarn or go with the yarn really well. And Cheryl knows this because for this sweater in particular, as I was working on it, I texted her several pictures and she and her husband finally chose. But I ended up using like these orange buttons, which I never thought would go with it, but it works out really, really well. And so it's a really simple button. And it just is a nice little feminine sweater. Again, gift box. No person in mind yet. But the second sweater I wanted to talk about is my speckled Tama. So if we can just go back here. Am I going the right way? No, I'm not.
I like those colors a lot.
Yeah, so this is called a Tama sweater, Tama, and it is by Kelly Van Niekerk, who is formerly Kelly Brooker. And I'll talk about her in just a minute. The yarn is a 3 Irish Girls Springvale DK. I really, really love this yarn. And the I Would Die For You, and that would be DYE I'm not going to knit a baby sweater out of something morbid. But this again has that base of a really light pink, but it has like these insane colored speckles on them. So there's like turquoise and gray and fuchsia and hot pink, and there's some like highlighter yellow in this. And it's such a fun colorway. I love putting kids in really brightly colored sweaters and clothes. I don't have any kids, but guess what? If I knit for you, you're probably going to get something in brightly colored because that's how I work. It has this really cute detail off to this side. I also made the mod of doing short sleeves on this one because, frankly, I don't like knitting sleeves, and I feel like it makes it long. You can wear the sweater longer if it's in short sleeve because it's a layering piece. I don't know if that's a lie I tell myself. Is that like a thing to put kids in layers? I don't know if it is.
Yeah, that's totally a thing.
Okay. I just wanted to, confirm I was knitting something that actually was practical.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. So, yeah, this is about the 12 months to the 18-month size. Kelly Van Niekerk's patterns, she is the designer behind the vertebrae. So there's the newborn vertebrae, which is a free pattern. Then there's the kitty vertebrae. That would be kid-o, not cat. And then a mama vertebrae, so the adult female one. She also has done the puerperium, which the newborn puerperium is a free option. And I've knit that one as well. And then once I saw that she had, so the puerperium is like the sweater, but it has the, all the way down the side, it has buttons. So it's a cardigan. And it's, again, really, really cute. But I don't like sewing on buttons that much. It takes me forever to sew on buttons. So I went for this one much better. Her pay-for patterns are designed wonderfully. I really love her patterns. They're really useful. They usually come in like fingering weight, DK, worsted, and bulky. And then they have a bunch of sizes in there. So if you've never knit one of her patterns, I would encourage you to start with the newborn vertebrae or the newborn puerperium to see if you like how she puts her patterns together. And if you decide that you do, I would just buy her Button Lovers ebook, which has both the more size variety in the puerperium as well as the tama. And she has everything. I think it's sized. You can use those same numbers and make some adjustments, but she has everything from, I think, quite seriously, newborn up to like 10 years old. Oh, and wow. You can do fingering weight, sport, DK light worsted, Aran, and bulky. And so she gives you some tips on how to do that, as well as long sleeve and short sleeve. And she makes it really, really useful. And that Button Lovers ebook, I've gotten so much use out of. I think this is the 7th or 8th sweater that I've knit with that. So the last thing I wanted to talk about was my pair of socks that have not been washed or blocked, but these are just a pair of toe up socks with an afterthought heel. I use my own other colorway. So they're just your average socks with an afterthought heel with stripes. This is out of Simply Yarn Company's Post Yarn in the Seattle Coffee Blues colorway. And so it's a dark turquoise, a brown, and kind of like a cyan color, I guess. And it's really pretty. I do like this yarn a lot. It's a Corriedale nylon mix, which is not a mix you find very often. I don't often knit in merino yarns for my feet. Some people have said that this yarn is really prickly. I didn't notice a problem with it. I would say, yes, it's more like BFL. So I think it's going to be hard wearing. And I'm really glad that I could finish these. These have been on the needle since 2014. And they needed to get done. I just had...
We're recording in 2018.
I know. Isn't that ridiculous?
I love it.
And so I had about, let's see if we can do this. I had about 1.5 inches of ribbing left to go. And I think the stopping point for me was like 3 inches of twisted ribbing on size 0 needles. Was just, all hope felt lost.
That'd do it.
I'm glad they're done. I'll finish washing them and blocking them, and really, I'm going to wash them and stick them in my drawer. I don't block them.
I don't block socks.
All right, so that's all the finished objects I have right now.
Nice.
It will, I promise it will slow down quite a bit.
I know it will slow down. I'm familiar with your ebbs and flows.
Good. So what are you working on?
Okay, well, so once again, I don't have any finished objects. It's August is always kind of an over planned month. Like there's always a lot of activities going on in August. I think it's just like the end of summer in the Midwest, and we need to get like all of the things done before.
Exactly.
So I don't have anything finished, but I do have some progress on my whips. So I'm working
Ooh.
on these socks, and they look ridiculous because they're 2x2 rib the whole way, but I promise they fit. I did try them
Ribbing
over
socks,
my
ribbing
heel.
on socks always looks super ridiculous.
I know they look really dumb, but I'm cruising along on those the Addy Flexi Flip needles, which has been going pretty well. I did, however, notice, so generally I am enjoying them
Okay.
in terms of the knitting experience, right? And so if you didn't catch the last time that I mentioned it, these are the Flexi Flip needles. So they're like a really tiny circular needle that the experience feels more like double points.
Got it.
So
Yep.
you have a set of 3 of these that you have 2 of them that the stitches are on and 1 that you're knitting with.
Mm-hmm.
And so the experience works really well for me. I'm normally a double point knitter, so that's good. But
I thought there was a but coming.
There's a but. So one of the reasons that I dislike doing magic loop and doing socks on 2 circs in general is because I get laddering. I don't get laddering with double pointed needles, and a lot of people get laddering with double pointed needles and find it goes away with magic loop and 2 circs. I'm the opposite. I don't understand how that works, but I'm the opposite. And I'm finding that I do get, I'm going to see if this will show up on camera here. I do get some laddering going on.
Oh, okay.
Where you see it?
Yeah.
Where I'm switching needles. And so it's the same situation that I have with magic loop and with 2 circs.
Interesting.
So that's a bit frustrating. I'm going to see if it blocks out, and I'm going to see if I care.
Got it.
Because it is a pleasant knitting experience.
Oh, good.
I'll say that. So that's sort of where I'm now like over halfway through a sock, so I feel like I can give more of an opinion than I could last time that I had these.
And do you think, so this is a question for your second sock, which you haven't started yet, because you are due one full sock at a time.
I do.
So do you think when you start your second sock that you might compensate for that laddering? Or do you want to I just want the experience to see what happens with these, see how these work within my normal knitting habits versus having to compensate for anything? I'm curious if you'll try that.
I don't think I'm going to try to compensate for anything. Okay. And that's largely because these are normally the thing that I'm knitting if I'm in a work meeting.
Okay.
Or if I'm in the car as a passenger, which is most of my time in the car because I hate driving. So I'm not doing this, like I'm not sitting down and focusing on these, you know? So I'm just like, I know myself enough to know that I'm not going to focus on compensating. And really the obnoxious thing about preventing laddering is that you really have to tighten up that second stitch on the needle, which means you have to focus for longer. And who wants to do that when you're knitting plain vanilla socks?
Right.
So I'm just gonna, I'm really just gonna see if it blocks out. And if it doesn't block out, I don't know if I care enough for something like this where it's just 2x2 rib and a plain stockinette foot. But I would care if I were doing something fancy, and I like knitting fancy socks too.
Yep.
So then I would probably go back to double points. Yeah, so we'll see how those turn out. Okay, so I had texted Katie, and I was like, what am I going to do about the heel for this sock? Because I need something different. So I actually decided on something that you didn't tell me. I just went completely rogue on you. So I'm doing the non-Euclidean heel.
Can you hold that heel up again? Because that's a really interesting divide.
And I'm not sure how well you can see it. So essentially, the way that you're creating the heel stitches is you're making like a gusset at the back of the foot.
Right.
like you're making a gusset along the Achilles, so there's a triangle in there. If you look
Yeah,
close to the view,
you
there's a
can see the
triangle,
triangle.
right?
You can see how it divides away.
Yeah, so you're increasing stitches there, and then to turn the heel, you're decreasing and you're turning.
Interesting. So you're doing that at the same time. There, that shows up really well.
Good.
Interesting.
So by the time you get all of them gone, you're done. Like, that's what's accomplishing
Right.
your gusset here. So I'm interested to see how this winds up fitting because it was very pleasant to knit. And that's despite the fact that I had to do some math because she didn't have numbers for a 60 stitch sock, which is what I was knitting, and I already had a leg, so I wasn't going to rip that back.
No.
So I had to do a little bit of mathing, and then the tip top of it maybe looks a little bit funny because her pattern was written for stockinette, and maybe I should have done just a round of stockinette before I went into the heel, but I didn't. So it maybe looks a little bit funny at the tip. But otherwise, it was just really nice and easy to knit.
Nice.
You don't have to pick up any stitches, which is what I've found, and I'm sure you have too in teaching socks, that like it's not the heel turn that trips people up. It's the picking up stitches for the gusset. So it's nice that you don't have to do that here.
Yeah.
So the knitting of it was very nice. We'll see how it fits on my heel. And I have like weird non-existent heels, so I'm still looking for my perfect match. Like, I can't wear slingbacks.
Tell me what you mean by non-existent heels.
I'm trying to. So I cannot.
I'm not asking you to put your foot up on screen.
But I'm not that flexible.
Okay. Goals.
So, yeah, no, that's not why I'm in yoga class. So I can't wear slingbacks because the little strap just pops off.
Yes,
all the time. Pops off. And like I had, for a while I had a pair of those Converse shoes that they're not the traditional All-Stars. They're the ones that have elastic in the back.
Okay.
And it's supposed to, like, you don't get blisters and you can wear them with bare feet. But same thing, it pops right off.
Does your heel go like straight down and like it's almost like a 90-degree? Now I'm looking at my foot too, because I also have that problem.
Yeah.
I can't wear slingbacks because I have a narrow heel, a wide foot, but a narrow heel, and my heel goes like straight down. It doesn't go like.
Yeah. It maybe goes in like a tiny bit. See, now I'm looking at my foot.
Yeah.
It maybe goes in a tiny bit, but not a ton. So It sounds like you have better vocabulary for describing your heel than I.
So what I've done is I would say I wouldn't call myself a sock knitter right now because I just don't have mojo.
You knit a lot of socks though.
I've finished a couple of pairs of socks. I've knit a lot, but I'm just not in that mindset right now to be working on socks. I can knit out a hat way faster. I love wearing wool socks. Anyway, it's a thing I'm going through. It's a phase. It's just a phase. I'm a terrible podcaster because I don't work on socks and I'm not sure. I don't have a candle playing like in the background. So I feel like I'm a terrible podcaster.
Was I supposed to have a candle?
I don't know, but I'm afraid my cat will burn her tail off or her whiskers off like one of yours did. So I feel like I can't do the candle. But have you noticed how Cheryl and I watch a lot of YouTubers, and not just in the knitting community. Sorry to take us on a tangent of our already tangent. But a lot of those YouTubers, particularly like in the beauty community, which I love watching makeup tutorials because they're both hilarious and just wonderful. But they always have at least one candle in the background.
I also don't have any peonies behind me, and that seems to be a prerequisite as well.
Bad podcaster. I don't fit into the knitting community. Blah, 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 blah. I'm good with that.
But we love you anyway.
Thanks. I really needed that self-validation. So for socks, I have tried out many heels because I get frustrated when they don't stay up. I hate socks that fall down. And I like the heel flap and gusset, but I don't like knitting top-down socks. I do know that there's a toe up, heel flap, and gusset, but that was too much math for me to deal with. I mean, it's a recipe and it works out really well, but that's how it works. So I've been kind of defaulting to afterthought because that sock knitting process is much easier and I can get it to fit a little bit better. I don't do a 50% heel. I do like a 48% heel. I've thought a lot about what is wrong with my heel that it doesn't stay up on most people.
Mm-hmm.
So I've kind of looked more into that on customizing it.
So we need a designer out there who is good at mathing, who can like figure out what's wrong with us. Not what's wrong with us. What's wrong with socks that they don't fit us and like save our feet.
Well, okay, so the
What we need.
frustration
This is a call.
down because okay, so Laura Neal or is it Lara Neal? Sock architecture fame. Math for Knitters podcast, or she did it. She's also, I believe, a Minnesotan. FYI.
Oh.
But I feel like she kind of talks you through in her book in sock architecture how to get a sock that fits you. But my frustration with, yes, trying out a whole bunch of different heels is that socks take so flippin' long to make to try out a heel. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And so I get a little bit frustrated with that. I mean, I admire Danny from Prairie Girls Knit and Spin, who she will rip out a sock and ripping back. I think her record is like 7 times she's ripped back. And like, I admire her for that, but I don't want to do that. So
That's a lot.
I mean, I think it's kind of finding a sock pattern that works for you. And while sock architecture provides many of those, it also comes down to time.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's finding that balance.
And it's not even ripping it back necessarily because it might seem to fit, but then when you actually wear it,
yeah, absolutely,
it doesn't.
Exactly, because the way that it fits on your feet as you're walking around just in your house is definitely, or you know, you put them on and you admire it. Let's be honest, we all do that as sock knitters. Is we put it on and like, look, it's so pretty, and then we might say
and now
to our
I'm a
significant others like, look and appreciate this sock I just. I am in the middle of knitting, right? And so I think you're right. Like once we put them into shoes or a different pair of shoes or a pair of boots, they fit differently.
Yeah.
And figuring out, you know, where do they rub? And so again, it comes down to time. And if you decide, oh, this fits really well on my foot. And since then, you know, you've knit another pair of socks or 2 pairs of socks with that same heel. And then you discover, oh, it doesn't really fit me all that well.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's like 2 or 3 pairs of socks you're out of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can understand that frustration. We'll do a sock confessions some point. Or should I just do it now? So I've been knitting some worsted weight socks, but my absolute favorite socks I get from my father. He buys them at Sam's Club or something of that nature. So they're a really thick wool. And he knows that I like them so much that he will buy them for me. So it's a brand called Spider, and they're made Spyder. And they have like these giant, like their logo is like a what is it? A black widow spider. So it has like the red thing on its belly. We don't get poisonous spiders up here, so I don't have to worry about that. But those are my favorite socks. They have enough elasticity on the top, so they fit over my giant calves, and they're great, and I love them, and they're super warm. And then the other one, he picked these up for Valentine's Day because my parents are adorable. But they're like these huge, they are definitely meant for men, so the heel goes like part way up my ankle or more. But they are like fleece lined with like, they're wonderful. Their wool socks are fantastic. So I will knit socks for my mom because she has a smaller foot than I do. So I'm like, yeah, I'll knit socks for you. Tell Dad to buy me another pair of men's socks from Sam's Club.
Okay, I'm really glad that you made this confession because, you know, you read so many things about hand knit socks that are like, once you try hand knit socks, you will never go back. And honestly, I really love my Smart Wool socks. Like, they're very comfy, and like you say, they have the elasticity. And I like the way that they like loop the really thin stuff on the inside of machine made socks, and I'm not sure how they do that, and I don't think that's really replicable when like fingering weight is as fine as I'm gonna go for socks, but like they're working with much finer wools. So I'm not going to stop knitting socks anytime soon and knitting them for myself,
Right.
but I also like I have a balance in my sock drawer for sure, and it kind of depends on what I'm doing and whether or not I'm leaving the house to wear shoes that day and what shoes those might be, as to which ones I might choose. But I really think that there's a place for both. Like I'm not someone who's gonna pitch my machine made wool socks anytime soon.
I agree with that. I mean, I love wearing hand knit socks. I love those, and I definitely wear them. But I really wear them in my boots. Like my winter boots is really where I wear them. And so I don't need something super thin.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly, I prefer to be barefoot if at all possible. So if I'm gonna wear
Not
socks,
me.
I'm gonna wear socks. Yeah. So like, I think you're right. I think it comes down to, yes, we want that perfectly fit sock, because once you find that, that Zen moment of, yes, I have my recipe down. I know what
Mm-hmm.
size needles I'm using. Um, I know what heel works best, what toe works best, how quickly I can knit these,
Mm-hmm.
and all of that. I think that's great, because I have to admit it, I have a self-striping sock addiction. Like I love self-striping socks, and I'm never going to stop collecting that yarn. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure right now. I guess I'm doing a craft reconsideration of how do I want to do hand knits? How do I want to do knit socks, and whether or not it's a time thing, because I really like doing sweaters right now, and I would like to knit more
Mm-hmm.
sweaters, but if all I'm knitting is sweaters and socks, I need some instant gratification, and I feel like neither of those things do it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, what's your current favorite heel, or do
I
you?
don't have a favorite heel right now because I haven't found one that I love.
So which other ones have you tried? Let's try that besides heel flap and gusset.
Yeah, obviously heel flap and gusset, and that's probably my favorite right now in terms of how it fits, although I don't think it's perfect for me.
Right.
I should have gone through and looked at all, because I've knit a lot of
Yes.
socks over the years.
Beautiful ones.
So, like, recently I've done quite a few afterthought heels
Okay.
in various forms, and I don't like how that fits. I could probably fuss with the numbers and get it to fit better.
Right.
But right now it's like there's too much of a cup for my non-existent heel.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not filling it out.
And it's not like you can gain weight in your heels, because that would just be
Right.
strange.
That would
I'm
be
just
super.
imagining like how they would market that in the Fitspo community.
And then I've done both the OMG and the Spacious OMG.
Okay.
I've tried those, and they're fine, but they aren't like, they aren't the one. I'm
Right.
still looking. I'm trying to think of what else I've done. I mean, just like a basic short row heel, non-afterthought.
I recently tried a short row heel, and that one fit my heel pretty well. I find that I have to decrease a lot narrower than most people do, and I'm okay with that. Um, but yeah, that one fit pretty well. I have not tried that. Tried it again though.
Yeah, I can't remember what else I've done. I'm sure there are some other ones in there, but there have also been like I used to feel like I had sort of tried them all, but then there's been kind of an explosion in the last few years
Mm-hmm.
of like different options coming out. So
I absolutely
I'm
agree
looking.
with that. And they're all different enough that I'm thinking of, like, vanilla is the new black, which is that
That's on my.
ribbed pattern. And she's done it in a bunch of different ways, toe up and top down, and for different weights of yarn as well. I agree. And there's enough variety coming out as well that it's okay. I want to try a whole bunch of different ones, because I know like the fish lips kiss heel is really popular.
Oh yeah, I've done that.
But yeah, that might be another one to try. I guess I'm willing to try it out on anklets.
Oh, there you go.
Or
Yeah.
because I don't have a problem with, like, I love casting on a toe, and I love doing like the foot, and it's the heel, and then it's I have all of that leg to do. That's where it gets me. Well, that's
Yeah.
where my stopping points tends to be. I've been finishing a whole bunch of things, so I haven't actually. My work in progress is actually a weaving work in progress.
Ooh.
So, let's see. Again, I'm sorry for my light today. So, it's a weaving, it's a loom. We get that, right? So, this is an Ashford loom. I do not own it. I'm actually renting it from the store. One of the things I wanted to do this summer was to try a couple of different crafts that I had never tried before, just to see what's the big deal, what's going on, do I like them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to try weaving, machine knitting, and cross stitching. I didn't get to cross stitching, and I'm okay with that. I have all winter. So as soon as like the day after classes ended, I took a weaving class. We warped the loom, and she taught us how to do like that basic. Like I can't even tell you the stats of this. So it's like 8 inches, 10 inches. It's a small one.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm doing like a 6 or 7 inch scarf on it. I chose the small one because I didn't want to like commit to here's an entire wrap, which to be intense. I'm gonna put this down. But so I worked on it for a bit, and then I liked it, but it didn't grab me. You know, when a craft grabs you and like that's all you can think about and that's all you want to do. Machine knitting actually did that for me, and I'm kind of surprised at that. I'm just making rectangles. I'll talk about machine knitting next time, I think, because I'll have a little bit more stuff. But it's something I tried, and I'm glad I tried it. Actually, most of the work that got done this weekend was by my mother. She did not want to work on the sleeves of her sweater this weekend, and neither did I. And I didn't bring any knitting projects because I wanted to force myself to work on this. Except she took over and she decided, yes, she likes this. Not enough to buy one, but anyway. But I do love the yarn I'm knitting that it's working up with. I feel like weaving doesn't go fast enough for me because I can't quite find a rhythm.
Oh, sure.
And so she managed to find a rhythm, and she did like a foot in a night without even thinking. So she made really good progress. And I just couldn't find that rhythm, and I'm okay with that. So for the warp, the uppy downy bits, I think the warp. Still see getting my terminology down. I used a Cascade. I think it's called Lana Loft, maybe. It's supposed to be like 50% alpaca, and it's a beautiful cobalt blue, which is like my favorite color. And it's supposed to be 50% alpaca, but I do not feel that alpaca in there. It doesn't feel overly soft. It feels like a nice Cascade 220. The other one that I'm knitting with is, I might just take a color of this in bright light. This is a variegated, and it's like a heavily speckled yarn. It's cream with that cobalt blue and some purple in it. And this is a West Yorkshire Spinners Croft yarn. West Yorkshire Spinners is not something that we get very often here, but they're obviously from the UK, and I watch a lot of British and European podcasters as well. But they also do some British sheep breeds as well. So they have like a Wensleydale, they have a BFL, they have a Jacob. So I find it really interesting. But I really like this yarn, and I have it in a couple of different colorways. So I will definitely knit with this again. So that scarf will be done by next time. I can't say it's going to be good, but it will be a scarf. So that's what I mean. I feel like you have to try new crafts to figure out, you know, why you love your current crafts as much as you do. And I think that weaving cemented that for me. I love looking at finished objects of what people have woven. And I have a cousin who does rag rugs, and she does beautiful weaving, but it's not for me, and I'm okay with that. What else are you working on?
I support that.
Yeah.
I just have a little check-in is all on my So Faded sweater that I've been working on for, it's been kind of my main project this summer, really. Mm-hmm. So I've made,
you made quite a bit of progress.
Some progress on it. Yeah, so last time I had just split off on the sleeves, and now I have, well, that's probably 6 inches or so. And then last time I had just faded into the Malabrigo colorway that I was using.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm fading into my fourth color of the sweater. So that's very
So can
exciting.
you hold up the color change from the Yarn Harbor colorway to the Malabrigo colorway? Because I know at the last episode you were saying, I have no idea if this is going to be too much of a jog. And can you hold it up again? Because I think it blends really nicely. Yeah, you can't really even tell. It just is a slight more green, and then you can tell that it is much more green. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's ended up fading really, really nicely because I know you were concerned.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
think
your
it's
fourth
good. So my fourth color is, this is Three Irish Girls Adorn Sock again. I don't know if I'm going to be able to catch it in this lighting at all. I mean, you can see it a little bit on the edges, but we're recording after dark again, so it's not great. I was having trouble, so when I first picked out yarn for this one, I had some trouble, like I laid out all of my yarns and I was trying to get a nice picture of the fade, and I had trouble really capturing it on camera, so I wasn't happy with any of the shots I took, but I'll see if I can get one of just this so that you can see it. But it's different shades of green, and then it has some pops of this sort of gold camel sort of colorway, and a little bit of turquoise blue in there as well. So here I'm getting into the green that I'll end up with, but I still have a little bit of that blue hanging on. Oh, there's Gigi. Hi, honey.
This is a very upset cat. But she will be cuddled because she is bothering me.
So I'm just fading into that fourth colorway now, and the pattern has you just knit straight from the underarms down to the hem, until there's a little bit of garter stitch hem. I think it's garter stitch hem. I'll have to double check.
Well, I mean, look at your neckline. But it is. Usually
my neckline is not there yet.
Oh,
because it gets picked up. So I don't know. I don't remember. I'll have to check. So they have it just straight down. I have very much an hourglass shape, and so I'm going to add some hip shaping in there. So I'm knitting straight for another few inches, and then I'm going to add just a little bit more space for my hips because I don't want it to ride up on me or anything like that.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Not anything dramatic, because I've made that mistake with sweaters in the past where I sort of forget that they're stretchy, and so I add more shaping than I need, because and I think it comes from me being a seamstress, because if you're working with fabric, you need that space, but knitting is obviously more forgiving. So I'm just going to add a little bit in because my hips are definitely bigger than what this is going to end up.
And it's supposed to be a slim fitting sweater anyway, right? Okay.
And I want it to be a slim fitting sweater. So I've based the measurements for this not only off of my own body measurements, but also off of the measurements of a sweater that I really love.
That's a really
and that I wear pretty frequently.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm using that for my width measurements and also for my length measurements, because I sometimes have trouble figuring out where I want it to hit oftentimes on my jeans, because that's what I'm normally wearing a sweater with. So I'm using that sweater as a guide for this. So hopefully it'll turn out really, really well fitting.
Got it.
Hopefully.
So
yeah, that's just stockinette, and I'm fading into it.
You've knit enough sweaters and you've made enough garments for yourself as well to know, I feel like you know how to adjust if you're noticing problems right away as well.
Right.
She's biting my toe. Sorry. If I'm making faces, it's because of that.
You have to leave it in.
I like how that fourth color then fits in, because it looked like it was dark greens and browns. I'm sorry, did you say what the colorway name was? Because I didn't catch it.
I maybe did or I maybe didn't. It's Hawk Ridge, so it's from the Duluth. Whatever she did. She did a special collection of Duluth colorways.
And I feel like that one was a lot darker, because the Hawk Ridge that I know has a lot of rust colors in it. And I feel like that
This was probably early on, so it certainly could have changed over time.
I'm guessing it has, because that one looks like it had much more dark green as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and the current one, while it does have some dark green in it, it's mostly like a rust color. It's still beautiful, but it happens.
Yeah, so that's what I'm working on. Do you have anything else?
I thought, since I've mentioned the cabin and being cabin chic today, racing in, I thought I would talk a little bit about knitting at the cabin slash pontoon knitting or crafting. One of the things that I like about being an instructor and not having to work as much during the summer, or having more flexible time, is that I can also go up to the cabin during the week. And so I like being at the cabin during the week because not very many people are there, and the lake is pretty quiet. So I can sit on the pontoon boat, which is quite possibly my favorite place to be ever, and just sit on the pontoon boat with maybe an audiobook if I want, and my knitting, and then I can just watch what's going out. And we have, so I like being able to knit and not have to look at my knitting. So I can watch the loons, because we have two loons that live in the bay, and they frequently swim next to our boat. So if you're quiet, you can hear them. Then there's the blue heron, who likes to be in our area as well. And I love blue heron. They look so very elegant, but they make the absolutely like worst noise. Like they lost that lottery. Um, they squawk, and they're horrible sounding, but they make me laugh because they're tall and blue flamingos, essentially. Every time we go out on a pontoon boat ride, or something that my dad and I do, so every Father's Day, his gift for a long time running is that I buy myself a fishing license, because you have to have a fishing license for each person that's in the boat. And I don't really care about fishing, but he would like to double our chances at fishing. So I'll go fishing with him, and I don't know how he does it, but he manages to drive the boat and then have two lines out, and I take care of it when I need to. But I can sit there and knit and then kind of hang out with him. Um, and I've been doing that for a long time with him. And so that's kind of my Father's Day gift to him, so we can get some quality time together. So I always have my crafting with me. You can sit there. It's a lot of fun. I just kind of have integrated knitting into my cabin time, and I don't think I'm going to stop that. And I mean, not that a poo-poo word from somebody else would be like, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed I craft. But it's just kind of something that I find you can quite literally fit it in wherever you are. And I knit all the time, and I'm sure many of you do as well, or many of you craft at the same time. And so it's whatever projects I bring up with me are kind of an extension of like knitting circle or social knitting, because I have to be able to hold on a conversation with my family. Well, they're going to carry on a conversation with me, and if I don't respond, they'll keep talking at me, so I have to be able to respond. So I have to plan appropriately.
Okay, but that's not all. There's one more thing you need to talk about, because around the time that this goes live is your birthday, and so how are you celebrating?
So I like to do low-key birthdays, so I'm going to be ancient. I'm going to be 35 on Wednesday. Ancient, just totally ancient.
Katie's older than me. Everyone should know that.
I am rarely older than anyone, so I'm proud of the fact that I'm slightly older than you and your husband. For my birthday, I tend to do a low-key birthday now. So my parents and I celebrated this weekend, and honestly, the weather was crap. Just to be honest. So I went up on Friday, and there's a lot of Canadian wildfires right now. And so over the weekend, Minnesota was actually on a statewide, I feel like, alert. I don't know if you guys got it down in the cities, but breathing was supposed to be rough. So everything was hazy. We had no sunshine whatsoever. Yeah. But the temperatures were in the mid 70s. Today it was like 66, which, okay, so not great. So we cooked out on the grill, and my mom got a pie from the Rustic Inn, which
yes,
the Rustic Inn is up the North Shore, but you can also buy their pies at the local grocery stores in town. And hands down, they make the best pie. Betty's Pies is the tourist destination. Rustic Inn is where everybody else goes.
Yep.
So I will.
That's a fact.
Those are fighting words, but it's true. So she got a lemon cream meringue pie. So it's meringue on the bottom, and I do not like meringue, but I like this meringue. Meringue crust, I guess, and then the lemon, and then the whipped cream on top. So that lemon cuts the sweetness and the creaminess. It's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing. So we had that. Wednesday is my actual birthday. Thank goodness I don't have any work meetings, because I don't like people coming up and being like, "Hi, it's your birthday today," right? Like, that's super awkward. I'll go over to my partner's house that night. He keeps hinting at I don't really do presents. Like, we do practical presents in my house, which sometimes makes it really hard. So, I got a box of peaches from Rotary, which sounds weird, but they do the Rotary Club up here does a peach sale. So you get a lug of peaches, and they arrived like on Friday. So my mom and I each got one, and each gotten one for many years. So she's like, "Oh, I'll make it your birthday present." I'm like, "Sweet, that works." So I'll be eating peaches for like the next 2 weeks nonstop.
Awesome.
Yeah. So anyway, my partner has hinted that he has built me something.
Ooh.
He's a woodworker, and I don't know what it is. And I've asked for hints, and he doesn't do hints.
Ooh, I'm excited to find
I know.
out.
Anyway, so birthday, calm, perfect.
Awesome. Love it.
Are you going to go to the state fair?
Yes, I am. Not this week, but next week.
Okay. So the Minnesota State Fair opens on Thursday. It goes for 11 days of fun.
12 days of fun,
food.
ending Labor Day.
Oh, got it. 12.
Yes.
Sorry, fun. Can't cut that out. And then all the food on a stick. Minnesota prides itself for all the food on the stick.
Right.
Good.
Yep. Yeah, I'm going once with my husband and my son, and then my mom and I are going because there's a special 4-H event for alumni of a program that she and I were both a part of quite a few years apart from one another. So we're going to go in, just the two of us. So that'll be really
that will be really, really nice. Yeah, so I will want to know what food you ate.
Yes, that will also be on Instagram.
Oh, good. Because I can't wait.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't have anything else.
Yeah, we've been rambling for a while tonight. We should probably sign off.
I'm going to have all sorts of interesting cutting to do while we do this. All right. So, thank you for joining us today. If it was your first time, welcome. And yes, we are not usually this rambly. Usually we stay on point, but
it's only our third episode. There's no usually.
It's our third episode. We can feel it. Let us know if you've tried Flexi Flips. I want to know what you think of those, or if you have a favorite sock heel, or you have ideas for sock heels that we didn't mention, or want to
for people with non-existent.
I want to hear about it to see if you have as many frustrations, or I feel like that's maybe too heavy of a word, of weighing in on that sock discussion, because we always want to hear about it. All right. Have a good day, and check us out below. Bye.
Bye.
Yay. The first thing that comes off is not my bra. TMI, I know it's fine. But I take my socks off right away. Hands down, socks are off first. I might edit that little part out, but I might not. We'll see how tired I get.
See how you feel.
Right. If you don't know that I have a cat, no, I'm going to throw a ball of yarn at you.